friends. It's Dr. Seema. It's been a while. I have not been making any content because I really don't consider myself a content creator. And I have also been working on a lot of things, a lot of tools. I've been putting together a lot of things that I use in the context of my work in therapy. And I share on a small scale. And I want to be more intentional about making it more accessible, especially during these really challenging times where I know there's a lot going on and people are struggling and could use it. And so that's my intention. Everything that I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go over one handout that I put together. Because I think now is the time. I know Project 2025 has been kind of a triggering concept. The reality of what, the current, regime, I guess, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to roll out, under this cultural, they're essentially trying to put a spell on us with this Project 2025. I decided to reclaim it. And we're going to do something different. And we're going to orient to it as Project 2025. That's what we're doing. Because we have got to be more intentional about leaning into the universal spiritual laws, and allowing them to guide us and to, just feel like, we have something that's kind of carrying us through these times, because it's so, So to project 2025 is to lean into the power of play. And delve into all of this stuff at some point. And what play can mean during these transformative times. So play is an acronym, and play stands for Project Love Around You. It is an attempt to leverage the power of the mirror, as life simply reflects back to us what we project onto it. So these are all things that we're going to practice with. I realize some of this is going to be off-putting to people and maybe not ready to, lean into some of this, these reframes. That's essentially all they are. We're going to do a lot of reframing and essentially reparenting ourselves, right? There's a lot of healing that we have to do individually and collectively. As a society, we have to sort of reparent ourselves within community and society as a whole. And that is going to require us getting really uncomfortable. So we're going to lean into it. Because ultimately, you alone decide what you project into the world. So we're going to reclaim it. Okay, we're reclaiming. Project 2025, that's what we're doing. It does take practice. Just so you know, I'm just going through a handout. My handouts are kind of long because I don't have a book that I've put all this stuff in, but I want to make it accessible. And I think it allows me to kind of wrap my brain around it, and hopefully it will help y'all if you have some interest in it. So I'll just kind of read through it. We know things are changing and fast. We know there's no turning back. Many of us see that it is time to put down the master's tools. Racism, classism, sexism, ableism, all of these things that are so off-putting and harmful. And that requires intentionality. We have to know what it is we are trying to do. We have to really be setting some real intentions here. Given the reality of the systems and institutions we've all been implicated in. All of this stuff is baked in. It's baked into all of our professions. It's baked into all of the institutions we're moving within and utilizing. And thus we're implicated in it. We as a collective have been called to usher in a world we have yet to see. And so we must begin to imagine it first. That's what we're doing. We're imagining. Some of us aren't quite sure of where to start to change when it comes to being the change. Here are some tools and reframes you might practice with. Ultimately, we are here to learn our lessons. I think that's really important. Just being in the world, and sometimes we need those reminders, like, what are we doing and why? We're learning our lessons is what we're doing. Some of us are learning them, collectively, I would say we're learning them the hard way, and it's unfortunate, but it's also to be expected, given, sort of the path we've been on. But hey, that's what we're here for. So ultimately, we can have fun doing it. And this is an invitation to do that. Some people might not think I'm particularly serious in my approach. Maybe I'm not. I reject a lot of what I was trained up in, I guess. I did the formal education route, going to Tulane and getting my master's and doctorate and all the clinical licensure. I think the more that I know at this point, the less I feel that we need to continue to rely upon real traditional ways of doing things. So I've learned that. That's been my lesson, going the formal education route. So yeah, I like to have fun, and that's what I see myself doing with this work, the work that I do with individuals who come to therapy, and anybody who wants to work with me in whatever capacity we could work together. Having fun, making this life thing fun, because that's what it is, if we let it be. So we must first commit to unlearning in order to remember there are things that we have been taught that we have to unlearn. I kind of take my leanings here from Theory U. Theory U is really helpful. It's a really helpful kind of orientation if you're thinking about radical systems transformation in whatever capacity, whatever sector you work in. And there's a lot of really cool community that you can build up with people who are into Theory U. And I thought so much of it when I found it some years ago, it really just showed me that I wasn't alone. And I think that's really just what we need right now. We all need to remember we're not alone. Most of the stuff I'd already drafted after that point, and I'd been working on, thinking about, talking about, it was hand in glove. It worked. It was right aligned with a lot of what Theory U was talking about. So, the unlearning. Recognizing and leaving behind dated stories and habitual tendencies that no longer serve who we are becoming. This is the unlearning. So, foremost, we're going to unlearn fear. Right? Fear is something we are going to reframe. Fear, we're going to reframe as a reminder. We're going to feel everything and remember. We're going to remember to do what? We're going to remember to play. And that's the project love around you. That's a key one. I have a handout on that online too. But that's really important. Yeah, the fear, the dog-eat-dog competition. Money is God. Our preoccupation with dominating, right? The white supremacy culture. Growth and productivity at all costs, all of this garbage that we've got to unlearn. Right? And we might be fearful, we feel it. We feel that fear to challenge some of the things that we've been taught, even though we know this ain't it, right? So fear is a reminder. All right, we're going to reframe the fear. And that's part of the unlearning. Feel everything and remember. Remember to play. Project love around you. Okay, this is your practice. We're going to unlearn the judgment. We've been so judgmental of each other. You know, feelings as the enemy, the aversion to collective grief, the zero-sum winner versus loser mentality. That's garbage. We don't need it. It's just hurting people. It's hurting us. You know, it just creates division. We're constantly judgmental of each other rather than really seeking to understand. It's garbage. We don't need it. And, you know, if we're thinking about aligning more intentionally with the universal laws, the law of neutrality. What is it to lean into this idea that, you know, maybe there's nothing to judge? Maybe we're in a time where neutrality would serve us. Minimally, it would allow us to stay curious. All right? Something to think about in our unlearning. Cynicism, just the ways that we just, you know, given up. We don't even feel inclined to try to understand. We don't even care to understand. Always we felt disempowered, right? Just kind of falling into the scarcity mindset. You know, lost the will to maybe even try something different. So we got to move away from that. That's not helpful. We got to unlearn it. Scarcity is an illusion. We can do whatever the hell we want. We can create whatever we want. Whatever we want, we can create. You have to remember that. And orient accordingly. Okay? So that's another major part of our unlearning, the practice. And I put in here, small b, belonging. It's that click mindset, the conditional acceptance, not rooted in self. Self is also an acronym unto itself. Source energy living from. We're going to reframe this idea of self. We've been trained to not trust ourselves. Not love ourselves. And forget that we are actually, collectively, we are all one through self. We are all one through source energy that lives from us, right? So, remembering that, the source energy that we're living from, all the little social constructs that we've come up with to navigate in sort of the 3D, they're not helping us. They're not serving who we're becoming. And so we're unlearning that. We're going to unlearn that too. I think what you'll find too, as you go through this stuff and you start playing with it and thinking about how it applies, you're going to see you're actually doing a lot of this already. You're doing it. That's good. You know, you're already rejecting a lot of this stuff. And I'm just affirming. I'm affirming you. Because this is all stuff we got to do. Ooh. So remembering. You know, we have a lot of unlearning, but we also have a lot of remembering. And I think it's important to remember that it's remembering. This actually lives in us. This is deep spiritual wisdom that lives in us, in our bodies. God speaks to us through us. Source speaks to us through us. There are things that you know. Again, you've just been trained out of trusting yourself to know. There are things that feel good for a reason. There's things that feel terrible for a reason. We got to get really curious about that and real honest with ourselves about that. You know, there's some practices around that. So yeah, the unlearning, fear, judgment, cynicism, and small b, belonging to these little cliques that none of us really fit in anyway. And remembering, cultivating and attuning to a felt sense of safety, both within ourselves and in the presence of one another. And this is the practice too. Orienting to and discerning embodied wisdom to better inform our choices. Autonomics, hearth science, the Restorative Practices Alliance. Let's get familiar. Let's delve into the autonomics. Let's practice more intentionally with finding some sense of safety in our bodies when we're alone with ourselves and with each other. We've all been navigating inherently traumatic systems, life circumstances, just heavy shit that, yeah, it's taken a toll on us. It's hard to regulate our nervous system. Right? So, let's get curious about that. Autonomics, look it up. Remembering, we're going to remember to have an open mind. One of the most important things we can do, have an open mind. I'm going to do this by being more present-centered, slowing down. We have to slow down. I have some more tools and some more things that we can practice with. One of them is the hard pause. P-A-U-S-E. All caps. We have to pause. We can't just keep being in reaction to and rushing into stuff without taking a real hard pause. And pause, it stands for pay attention until source elevates. That's what we're paying attention to. Pay attention to what your heart is telling you. There's nothing that is that pressing. That should have us shutting down our mind and our heart to what's in front of us. Open heart. Having an open heart, embracing connection, and loving your neighbor. And I know this is a hard one for a lot of people. I know my stuff can feel inaccessible for I think especially if you've been socialized as a man's man. It can be kind of challenging. That unlearning, all the spells that have been cast on us, put upon us under the patriarchy, right? This idea that loving your neighbor is having your heart open to people, how vulnerable it makes us, how exposed we feel. And so we practice with it. We gotta practice, that's all. You just gotta practice it. We can do that with play. All right, we're gonna, I'll go into the play handout and break that down a little bit more too. The willingness to stay engaged. A theory you refers to this as the open will. Willingness to stay engaged. I like Bell Hooks' The Will to Change. I like to plug that in there. The will to change. Owning the ways we are empowered. We have agency. And we have purpose. Figuring out what your purpose is. I refer to that as heart work. I like to emphasize the art. We're all artists, we're all creatives. Again, we've been, socialized and conditioned out of this stuff. We don't embrace it oftentimes because it doesn't feel safe, right? Which is why we gotta practice with the autonomic stuff. I have a little note here. Reminder that self seeks the same thing through all of us. Love, validation, and acceptance. Remember, self, source energy that we're living from, seeks the same thing through all of us. Source moves all of us. We are one through self. Trust yourself. You want love, you want validation, you want acceptance. Guess what? Everybody else does too. That's what everybody wants. So we're going to remember that. And we're going to remember the big B belonging. And I emphasize the B, all caps. B-E, like be yourself, unapologetically. Unconditional positive regard and acceptance rooted in trust in self. You belong. You just do. And people are going to have to accept that. We're going to have to accept that. And I know this gets tricky. You don't get to belong at the expense of other people, you know, hurting people, asserting that you somehow need to be dominant over others. You know, I know we're so conditioned into navigating these hierarchical constructs. So this stuff gets a little tricky. There's so much stuff that we have to unlearn, right? With our fear and judgment and cynicism and all that. This idea that we can only belong within the, you know, small b cliques, right? Small b belonging. What is it to just love ourselves unapologetically? Practice in that. And remember, everybody else belongs here too. They belong here too. So we're going to have to practice with that. We're going to practice with that. And why is play so important? I emphasize that in a few places. Again, I have a whole handout on that. I like to stress, it's a really good thing that nobody wants to work anymore. All this stuff we've been hearing about nobody wanting to work. It's good. We're reclaiming our souls. Our systems are just, it's tragic. Some of the stuff that we force people to endure day in and day out. And just, you know, pretend they're fine and everything's fine. When we know that's not the case. People aren't getting their basic needs met. There's terrible things happening all around us. And in large part, we're all implicated in it. And we're just part of continuing, right? And sort of be cogs in the wheel sometimes. If we're not intentional, if we're not thoughtful about how we're moving. So it's a good thing, right? It can feel a little scary to be pushing back, but it's important. Nobody wants to work anymore because our current system at its core centers profit over people. It consistently sacrifices the 4 C's, the 4 cornerstones of play. I'll talk about that. And most everything that makes life feel worth it. That's the current systems that we have in place. Centering profit over people. That's not going to work. Okay? If we commit to orienting to our world by centering people over profit, we can invite play back into our daily lives. And remember the ways we're empowered, okay? Play makes life worth living. It is a reclamation of our souls to play. We're not playing, we're not having fun with it. I would say we're maybe doing things wrong. We're constantly at war, constantly trying to one-up, constantly trying to dominate others. That's not fun. That's not playing. It keeps us in a ramped up autonomic nervous system. Starts taking a toll on our physical health. We don't need that. So I mentioned the 4 C's, the cornerstones of play, the cornerstones of play. What are cornerstones of play? 4 C's. Curiosity. And this is the stuff that makes life worth living. Curiosity. Novelty is exciting. We get to explore and learn something new. We get to know new people. We test our limits, challenge ourselves. We get to see what we're really made of when we're curious, you know? Number 2, creativity. We get to create. There are no limits to our imaginations. Whatever we can imagine, we could create. We are allowed to follow our intuitions. We can do that. We decide the plot. We make the rules. If something is no longer fun, we choose to do something else. We hold the power. If you haven't picked up on it, most of my stuff comes from just growing up on the playground, working with kids. That's what I've always done, is work with kids in some capacity. And I held on to my youthful spirit throughout all of it. So creativity. 3, compassion. This is the stuff that makes life worth living, being compassionate. We learn how to make friends, how to be a good friend. There's a lot of people out there trying to run shit. They don't know anything about compassion. They don't have friends. They probably never had them. That's a problem. When we have compassion, we recognize injustice and seek fairness when we see it. Nobody likes a bully. At our core, we know we don't like that. We don't want people coming in telling us what to do, trying to steamroll us. We learn that when we're mean or hurtful, nobody wants to play with us anymore. That's what we learn. And we learn to course correct. Get it together. Get your mind right. You want people to play with you, you need to act right. Okay, that's what we got to do. And 4, connection. This is the stuff that makes life worth living. We have opportunities to be part of a community of friends and peers who enjoy our company. When we practice compassion, we remember that we belong. We belong just the way we are. And feel the joy of being able to laugh and have fun in community with others. This is connection. This is what connection does. So these are the 4 cornerstones of play. Whenever you're wondering, how do I play? Some of us have become workaholics. We've forgotten how to play. All we're doing is working, striving, struggling, suffering. It's incessant, obsessive suffering. And we're putting ourselves through, in large part, you know. So good things to remember. And the people over profit. What is it to? Oh gosh, I gotta get going. Okay, I have an appointment. I'm gonna do this real quick. People over profit. The people is an acronym unto itself. The first P is the hard pause. It's hard to do. We gotta do it. We gotta do that first and foremost. We can't be rushing in. Pay attention until source elevates. That's our pause. The E is emerge. We got to come with that pause energy. Bring that self, that pause, collected, grounded self. We bring that to whatever work we go on to do. We bring that to our heart work. We will emerge. It's okay to pause. It's okay to rest. We will emerge. That's what we do because we're people, okay? The O, we're going to organize. We're going to come together around a shared vision because that's what we do in all different capacities. Doesn't need to look any one way. But we're going to get organized. The next P is we're going to practice. We're going to practice. We're going to keep coming together. As uncomfortable as it's maybe been in the past, we're going to keep doing it. Because we're going to see it's going to feel good. The more we practice, the more we get, get our bearings. Learn how to be in community with each other. Learn how to really hold space for each other. And, it's gonna feel good. I also say that P can be play, right? Remember, play. We're gonna project love around you. You focus on you. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. They don't have to be projecting love. That don't matter. You're gonna do it anyway. You are the center self. Okay? The L, we're gonna love. Love is an acronym unto itself as well. We're gonna live our vision emphatically. Whatever your vision is, you're gonna do it unapologetically. That's love. That's how we show up. That's why we're here. And ultimately, we're gonna evolve. That's what we do. We gotta trust the process. We gotta center people over profit always. And remember the 4 C's. Remember why we do this life thing. Remember why we do it. Curious, creative, compassionate, connected beings that we are. Practice with this stuff. Keep going back to it. You are the seed, becoming the change. We talk about being the change. You know what? You got to become the change. And trust, the seeds have been planted for it. Now tend to them. If you're the seed, tend. Tend to yourself. Make sure you're planted where you need to be. So this is the Project 2025 handout. All this stuff is accessible on the website. Yeah, I love y'all. Have fun with it. Bye.